Lena's feet ached as she balanced between the tables of the Belvita restaurant, carrying 3 heavy plates on a tray. 7 months pregnant, every step was a challenge, but she kept a smile on her face, determined not to show the exhaustion she felt. The baby moved in her belly as if to remind her she wasn't alone in that daily battle. "Just a little more, little one," she whispered, adjusting her apron over her prominent belly. "Mommy just needs to hang in there a few more hours." The restaurant was particularly busy that Thursday night. The air conditioning barely kept up with the heat generated by the kitchen ovens and the bodies crowding the dining room. Lena wiped the back of her hand across her forehead, brushing away a strand of brown hair that had escaped her makeshift bun. "Lena," Sandra's voice, her co-worker, called out. "Urgent! Table 15 just arrived. It's an important client. The manager asked for you to attend personally." Taking a deep breath, Lena straightened her uniform and made her way to the indicated table. From a distance, she already sensed something different in the air. The other customers were casting curious glances at the man who had just sat down. He radiated a presence that seemed to fill the entire space, even while maintaining a discreet posture. As she approached the table, Lena noticed the details. The impeccably tailored suit, the watch that probably cost more than her yearly salary, the elegant posture that revealed someone accustomed to power. But it was his eyes that surprised her, deep, observant, and with a hardness that all his money apparently couldn't hide. "Good evening, sir. Welcome to Belvita. My name is Lena, and I'll be serving you today." She kept her voice firm and professional, as she always did, not showing the intimidation she felt. The man looked up from the menu, and for a moment, Lena felt as if he could see right through her. There was no arrogance she had expected to find, but something else, a genuine curiosity that caught her off guard. "Good evening, Lena." His voice had a slight accent she couldn't quite place. "Could you recommend something? I confess I'm a little lost with so many options." But then something unexpected happened. The baby gave a particularly strong kick, and Lena instinctively brought her hand to her belly. The gesture didn't go unnoticed by the client, whose eyes visibly softened. That seemingly trivial moment would mark the beginning of a story that neither of them could have foreseen. A story about how fate sometimes chooses the most unlikely paths to show us that happiness might be hidden in the most unexpected places. As Lena explained the menu items, she noticed that the client listened with a genuine attention she rarely encountered. There was none of the typical rush of the executives who frequented the restaurant, nor the condescension some showed upon noticing her condition. "The mushroom risotto is our specialty," she explained, pointing discreetly at the menu. "The chef uses a unique combination of fresh mushrooms that..." A sharp pang in her lower back cut her off mid-sentence, and she had to lightly lean on the table to keep her balance. It was a brief moment, but enough for the man to stand up in an instinctive gesture of help. "Are you okay?" The concern in his voice was evident. "Please sit down for a moment." "I can't, sir. But thank you for your kindness." She smiled, regaining her posture. "Just the usual challenges of the 3rd trimester. So, about the menu." "My name is Khaled," he interrupted her gently, "and I insist that you take a few minutes to rest. The restaurant won't fall apart if you take a short break." There was something in his voice that didn't allow for discussion, although it remained kind. Lena hesitated, torn between the restaurant's protocol and the pain now throbbing in her back. "Khaled!" he called discreetly to the manager walking nearby, with a natural authority that made the man immediately approach. "Miss Lena needs a few minutes of rest. I'm sure that won't be a problem." The manager, who would usually be strict about unscheduled breaks, simply nodded respectfully. "Of course, Mr. Al-Rashid. Lena, you can use my office if you want." That was when Lena understood who her client was. Khaled Al-Rashid was a name that occasionally appeared in business news, a discreet but incredibly influential businessman known for both his fortune and his quiet philanthropy. 15 minutes, no more, she finally conceded, realizing it would be impossible to argue. And thank you, Khalid. As she walked toward the manager's office, Lena felt his gaze follow her steps. There was something different about that man, something beyond his obvious wealth and power. A loneliness she recognized, perhaps because she carried her own. In the small room, sitting on an uncomfortable chair, Lena allowed her thoughts to wander. The past few weeks had been especially hard. Rent had gone up, medical bills were piling up, and her savings were dwindling by the day. Unconsciously, her hand caressed her belly, feeling the baby's gentle movements. "It's going to be okay, little one," she murmured, more to herself than to the baby. "Mommy always finds a way." But for the first time in a long time, Lena allowed herself to admit how tired she was of always having to find a way alone. The weight of loneliness, which she usually kept well hidden behind smiles and determination, felt momentarily unbearable. When she returned to Khalid's table 15 minutes later, something had subtly shifted in the atmosphere between them. It was as if that brief moment of shared vulnerability had created an invisible connection, a mutual understanding that neither had sought, but which now seemed inevitable. In the weeks that followed, Khalid became a regular customer at Belvita. He always chose a table in her section, and although he ordered only simple dishes, he left generous tips that Lena tried, unsuccessfully, to refuse. "It's too much," she insisted each time, to which he responded with a calm smile. "It's fair for the excellent service." In their conversations during her service, they discovered they shared more than they initially imagined. Khalid had lost his parents at a young age, and like Lena, knew the weight of loneliness. She realized that despite all his wealth, he seemed more at ease there, chatting with a pregnant waitress, than at the social events he sometimes mentioned. One particularly busy night, Lena was finishing her shift when a sudden dizziness struck. Khalid, who had just arrived for his usual late dinner, caught her before she lost her balance. "You need to take better care of yourself," he said, the concern in his voice unmistakable. "How much longer until your maternity leave?" Lena looked away, nervously adjusting her uniform. "I'm not taking leave. I can't afford not to work." The silence that followed was heavy. Khalid watched her with an intensity that made her blush. "Meet me tomorrow for a coffee," he said finally. "I have a proposal for you." "I don't need charity," Lena responded automatically, years of pride and independence speaking louder. "It's not charity," Khalid assured, his voice soft but firm. "It's a business proposal. Please at least allow me to share it with you." Something in the way he spoke, without pity or condescension, made Lena hesitate. After a long moment she nodded. "Okay, but it has to be in a public place." His smile was genuine. "Of course. The bookstore cafe on the corner. 10 o'clock. The next day, seated at a quiet table in the cafe, Lena stared at the cup of hot chocolate in front of her, trying to calm her nerves. Khalid arrived on time, dressed in a more casual suit than usual, as if to bridge the social gap between them. "Thank you for coming," he began after ordering an espresso. "What I'm about to propose may seem unusual at first, but I ask that you hear me out to the end." Lena nodded, her heart beating a little faster. "I'm developing a new project," Khalid continued, "a restaurant unlike anything else in the city. I want it to be a place that combines haute cuisine with genuine hospitality, and I need someone who understands real hospitality to help me build it from the ground up." He paused, his eyes meeting hers. "I want you to be my consultant and eventually the manager of the project. The salary will be market competitive, including full health coverage and paid maternity leave. You'll have the freedom to set your schedule, and after the baby is born, we can adapt your routine." Lena felt like the air had been sucked out of her lungs. "But why me? There are professionals much more qualified." "Technical qualifications can be learned," Khalid interrupted gently. "What you have, the ability to make people feel truly welcomed, that can't be taught. I've seen how you treat every customer, how you turn a simple dinner into a special experience. That's exactly what I want for my project." His words stirred something inside her, beyond the baby's kicks. It was the first time someone had recognized her work in such a way. Seeing her enthusiasm, he pulled out pages detailing the restaurant's concept, and she explained as she sat down across from him, "I was thinking of something that mixes the refinement you want with a welcoming environment. A place where both executives and families feel at home." As she spoke, her eyes shone with excitement. Khaled watched her with a discreet smile, clearly pleased with his choice. "That's exactly what I envisioned," he commented, flipping through the detailed pages. "You have a natural talent for this, Lena." The compliment made her blush slightly. It was hard not to notice how different Khaled had become in recent weeks. More relaxed, more present. He actively participated in all the planning meetings, even when it meant postponing other commitments. "There's one more thing," Lena hesitated, biting her lower lip. "I know it wasn't in the original plans, but I thought about including a space for children, a place where parents can dine peacefully, knowing their children are safe and entertained." To her surprise, Khaled's eyes lit up. "That's a brilliant idea. Actually," he paused, seeming to choose his words carefully, "I've been thinking a lot about family lately." Lena's heart involuntarily sped up. In recent weeks, she had been struggling with a growing attraction to her new boss. It wasn't just his appearance or natural charm, it was the way he treated her, with the respect and consideration she had never experienced before. "Khaled," she began, her voice more serious, "I need to be sure that this position isn't out of pity or for any reason other than professional." He leaned forward, his eyes meeting hers with an intensity that made her stomach knot. "Lena, you are the most competent person I've ever met. Every idea you bring proves I made the right choice. If there's something more—" He paused significantly. "Those are feelings we've developed naturally, with no relation to work or social standing." The Shine baby chose that moment to deliver a particularly strong kick, making Lena instinctively place her hand on her belly. Without thinking, she took Khaled's hand and placed it where the baby was moving. It was an instinctive gesture, perhaps too intimate, but the expression on his face, a mixture of wonder and something deeper, more vulnerable, made the moment feel perfectly natural. "It's incredible," he whispered, his fingers gently pressed against her belly. "You are incredible, Lena." In that moment, something definitively changed between them. They were no longer just boss and employee, nor merely friends. It was something new, frightening and exhilarating at the same time. "I'm scared," Lena admitted softly, her hand still resting on his. "Scared to trust, to get hurt again, to hurt my child." "I'm scared too," Khaled replied with a surprising honesty. "I never thought I could want a family until I met you. I never imagined I could feel this." The restaurant project progressed rapidly, but not as fast as Lena's final month of pregnancy. At 8.5 months, she struggled to keep up with the pace, even as Khaled constantly insisted she reduce her hours. "The doctor said I need rest," she finally admitted during a late afternoon meeting, after feeling light but persistent contractions. "I think I'll have to start my leave earlier than planned." The worry on Khaled's face was evident. "I'll take you," he said, already grabbing his keys. It wasn't a question. On the way to Lena's apartment, a comfortable silence filled the space inside the luxurious car. Lena couldn't help but notice the contrast between her life and Khaled's. "You've never asked about the baby's father," she said softly, surprising even herself with the comment. Khaled kept his eyes on the road, but his expression softened. "I figured you'd tell me when you were ready." Lena took a deep breath, sensing it was the right moment. "It wasn't anything dramatic, really. He just wasn't ready to be a father, said he had other plans, other priorities." She paused, caressing her belly. "At first, I was devastated, but now I realize it was for the best. My child deserves to be loved by someone who truly wants to be part of his life." The car stopped at a red light, and Khaled turned to her. "Lena, I want to be part of your lives. Not just as your boss or friend. I want to be there for every moment, good and bad." Her heart raced. "Khaled, you don't have to." "I know I don't have to," he gently interrupted. "I want to. These last months, you've changed my life in a way I never imagined possible. You made me realize that all professional success means nothing without someone to share it with. A stronger contraction made Lena flinch slightly. Khalid immediately placed his hand over hers. Are you okay? Yes, they're just Braxton Hicks contractions. The doctor said it's normal at this stage. She smiled, trying to reassure him, but her mind was still processing his words. Khalid, are you sure? Your family, your culture, would they accept a woman like me? My family taught me that a person's character matters more than any title or social status, he responded with conviction. And as for my culture, it values above all respect, honesty, and family love. Values you embody perfectly. Tears began to form in Lena's eyes, a mix of pregnancy hormones and genuine emotion. Still, it's a big step. I don't want you to regret it later. Khalid parked in front of her building and turned fully toward her. Lena, for the first time in my life, I'm absolutely sure of what I want. I'm not asking for an immediate answer. I just want you to know that I'm ready to build a life with you and your child, if you'll have me. At that moment, looking into his eyes, Lena saw the future she had always dreamed of, but never believed was possible. It wasn't a fairy tale. It was something much more valuable. It was real, with all the complexities and challenges a true relationship brings. 3 weeks later, the Belvita was unrecognizable. Tables decorated with elegant flowers, soft lights creating a welcoming atmosphere, and an irresistible aroma coming from the kitchen. It was the inauguration party for the restaurant's new children's area, a special project that Lena had developed even while on maternity leave. I can't believe you organized all this from home, Sandra commented, admiring the decor. And with a newborn. Lena smiled, adjusting baby Omar in her arms. Just 2 weeks old, he slept peacefully, unaware of the bustle around him. His delicate features were a perfect mix of her and Khalid, something that made her heart overflow with love every time she looked at him. Actually, it was more Khalid who organized everything, she admitted, watching her now fiancé mingling with guests. He followed every detail of the project exactly as we planned. The transformation she had witnessed in Khalid over the past weeks constantly surprised her. The powerful businessman she had met months ago now changed diapers with devotion, sang lullabies in Arabic to Omar, and still found time to ensure the restaurant project stayed exactly as she had dreamed. He really loves you, Sandra observed with a smile. And not just you. The way he looks at Omar, I've never seen anything like it. As if he'd heard his name, he approached at that moment, his eyes lighting up at the sight of Omar. He gently adjusted the small blanket wrapped around the baby. The investors are impressed with the children's area, he commented, his hand naturally finding Lena's waist. They said it's exactly what the city was missing, a place where families can truly feel welcome. Our son will grow up here, Lena said softly, resting her head on his shoulder. He'll be part of its story. Our story, Khalid corrected, kissing her forehead, and we still have many chapters ahead. Omar chose that moment to open his little eyes, letting out a tiny yawn that made both of them smile. It was amazing how someone so small could bring so much joy and meaning to their lives. You know, Lena began, looking around the hall full of people. When I found out I was pregnant, I thought my life was over, that I'd have to give up all my dreams. And now, she paused, looking into his eyes. Now I realize that moment was just the beginning. That sometimes life has better plans than the ones we imagine for ourselves. She paused again. That sometimes love comes in the most unexpected way possible. Khalid pulled her closer, careful with the baby between them. You and Omar are the greatest gift life could have given me. You've taught me that success isn't measured by professional achievements, but by moments like this. Little Omar let out a soft murmur, as if agreeing with his father's words. Lena felt her eyes fill with tears, not from sadness or fear, like so many times, in recent months, but from pure happiness. There, in that perfect moment, she finally understood. True love doesn't erase our differences or magically solve all our problems. True love is built day by day, with respect, understanding, and the courage to believe that sometimes the best chapters of our story begin exactly when we think it has ended. Dear friends who followed this story to the end, I hope it touched your hearts as much as it touched mine to tell it. If you felt moved, if you identified, or even just enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and share your impressions in the comments. Together, we can keep sharing stories that make us believe in the power of true love and remind us that it's never too late to start a new chapter in our lives. Until next time.